It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Okay, SKOR North Twins Show, live from Target Field. Here we go. Here starts the trades and the sell-offs, I guess. Twins trade Chris Paddack today and Randy Dobnak to the Detroit Tigers for prospect Enrique Jimenez. We'll have more on that here in just a second, but this is the SKOR North Twins Show. Maybe you're a Detroit Tigers fan and you've stumbled into this. Maybe you're a baseball fan and looking for more information on another trade that has went down here, as we're about 3 days away from MLB trade deadline. My name's Declan Goff. I cover the team for SKOR North in the Twin Cities in a podcast form. Cover the majority of home games in a podcasting position. So if you're looking for the latest info on the Twins trade deadline, you're looking for latest info on the clubhouse and the team as a whole, hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys. As Isaac says, yes, this notification got me so happy. Appreciate that for you guys that support the show. And yes, the Minnesota Twins have made their first kind of a big trade here, I guess, in Chris Paddack, who with Randy Dobnak, I should say, is going to a division rival, the Detroit Tigers. I'll be honest, a little surprised it was an in-division trade. Usually you don't see too many of those. I'll have some more on that here in just a second, but let's get out the kind of nuts and bolts of what this trade looks like. So Twins send out Chris Paddack and Randy Dobnak, who I know at one point was a big time fan favorite. He got that contract extension. He's been almost exclusively pitching in AAA ever since. They're going to Detroit. The Tigers are sending Enrique Jimenez back here. Jimenez, the 14th organizational prospect in the Detroit Tigers system. I'll say this. If you were to tell me that Chris Paddack was going to be traded by the deadline, which I would have probably put, I don't know, at a coin flip, maybe a little bit above 60% chance. I call it a 60% chance. And then would you ask, if you were to ask me, you will also get an organizational's top 15 prospect for him, I would have said there's no shot in hell. And the Twins were able to do that. So just on the surface, I am very surprised that that was able to take place. Now, maybe Dobnak going there bumped up the price a little bit. I find that also kind of like tough to believe. But looking at obviously some of those trades too that have happened in the division, you do end up paying a little bit more of a price. In fact, Rocco even kind of touched on some of this, that if you are trading within the division and you are the one not on the negotiations and you're trying to pull off the deal, like it's a little bit easier from the Twin side. Now that the Tigers too have desperation on their side. So what I mean by that is obviously the Tigers have lost 2 starting pitchers, which has been huge, which has been a problem for them. So they're in the need of obviously some starting pitching help. You need as much help to get you to the finish line and to get to October. And to be honest, like I wouldn't be shocked if not Dobnak, but Chris Paddack is someone that can help them in the bullpen too. He showed a lot of good stuff there, obviously, in the playoff run for the Twins. In fact, he touched on that. Paddack did that was obviously a really important time for him. That in his career that he's battled so many of these injuries, and that playoff moment, and for him, being able to do that was really, really important. Chris Paddack was a little emotional, if I'm being honest. They took a chance on him here. He had 2 Tommy John surgeries, and just kind of watching him react to the trade, we were able to talk to him about 10-15 minutes after the trade went down. He got a little misty-eyed because, he had 2 arm surgeries. The Twins basically paid for his rehab after he was acquired here. Remember, he got brought here from the Emilio Pagan and Taylor Rogers trade. So I keep saying Dobnak. It's Paddack and Pagan coming here for Dobnak, or for Pagan, and Brent Rooker went out in that deal. And Paddack was able to he came with damaged goods. He was able to rehab, get himself in a position. Now, the Twins probably invest too much time into Chris Paddack. I guess because he was mostly kind of just an average starter. But from a human side of things, I totally get where Chris Paddack comes from. When you have battled all sorts of these injuries, it makes life makes you grateful for the life that you get to have. And the Twins, they wanted to be right about Chris Paddack. And to be honest, look, them getting a 14th best prospect for him, I think, is the best possible scenario. So Paddack will try to help out their starting rotation. We'll see how he fits into their postseason plans. The Tigers, even though they have been slumping in the month of July, are likely going to run away with this Central Division. So we'll see how he factors into there. Taking a look at what the Twins are getting back. If you're a Twins fan, they're getting back Enrique Jimenez, who's a 19-year-old. He's a catcher. He's a switch hitter. He's 5'9", $170 this year in 48 games in the Florida Coast League and rookie ball for the Tigers, slashing .250, .339, .440. So decent pop for a 19-year-old down there in rookie ball. Again, was the 14th best prospect for the Tigers. He was also their headliner from their 2023 international class. The Tigers signed him for $1.25 million. So, I mean, they signed a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid for over $1 million. That was their top international prospect. This write-up is coming from MLB.com, as he has made steady if quiet progress since as a catcher, culminating in his stateside debut last summer in the Florida Complex League. He had a hot start in the FCL before fading down the stretch. He's not a big body. He's 5'9", $170, and his presence at the plate fits accordingly. He has a good eye for the strike zone, makes contact as a quick swing, but can be prone to passiveness as a hitter, which kind of can be the case with a lot of catchers. His opening month in the FCL last year included more walks than hits and strikeouts and good doubles power. Though he has more at-bats hitting left-handed, he was far more effective in limited at-bats from the right side off southpaws. Defensively, he commands the game and handles the pitchers well. The Twins are able to build up a position that's very hard to develop. I wouldn't expect Jimenez to be on the Twins anytime soon, especially as a 19-year-old. They have Dia too in their system. The Twins do, who's in, I believe, is it Cedar Rapids? He has great numbers too. So take as many shots as you probably can with those catching prospects, and the Twins are going to bank on that and getting Jimenez back here. Look, I know it's a lottery ticket. Greg even says here on a YouTube channel, just another 19-year-old can't miss prospect. That will probably miss, but good move by the Twins. Greg, I think you're probably right that it's a 19-year-old prospect that's very hard to project. That's not a first-round pick. And is it more likely that he is not a legitimate big leaguer? Yes, the chances are he isn't. But that's what you get when you trade a veteran pitcher like Chris Paddack, and you're able to get something like that. I think that's what you have to take back. And again, I think the fact the Twins got a top 15 prospect for someone like Paddack from the Tigers is impressive. Like if they traded him to, name your team, the Astros, I don't know if you get even a top 20 prospect. Hopefully we're going to hear from Falvey. He did talk yesterday that, kind of teetering that line of, are they going to be buyers, are they sellers, are they just going to wait it out till the deadline? But clearly they have made their first trade here, giving Chris Paddack to the Detroit Tigers with Randy Dobnak for a 19-year-old prospect, and you could tell in the locker room just from being around, he is a leader in that locker room. Guys gravitate towards him. He was very close with Brooks Lee, who was his fishing partner. Paddack, a big-time hunter and fisher. Same with Brooks Lee. So you can tell that his presence will be missed. And again, from a human side of things, Paddack a little emotional about being traded here from the Twins. I completely get where he is coming from. So Rocco talked that it's always hard when you have to sit across the desk from someone and a player and tell them, hey, you're going to be traded. That's kind of the tough part as a manager. Paddack was obviously optimistic that he's joining a contender, which is huge. He did make, and I tweeted this out. I got some blowback. I understand why fans get blowback from it. But Paddack kind of thought that they would actually make a move to make this team, the Twins, better before he thought even himself would be traded. So I know that's laughable to some. I get that. But again, as a competitors and as players, some of these guys are aware of the trade rumors. Some guys completely unplug from it. They don't follow anything. Even though they have social media, they ignore it. And let's be honest, his name's come up a little bit here from national reporters, Paddack's name that is, but everyone else has been talking about who? Jax, Duran, Joe Ryan, Bader, Castro. Again, odds-wise, if you were to tell me Chris Paddack would be the first guy traded, even 24 hours ago, I would have said I doubt that's the case. So the fact he has been, a guy that we weren't thinking that of being traded was traded, obviously is says a lot about how volatile sometimes a trade deadline is. I get it. It's rumor season. Sometimes even myself and others get way too caught up in rumors that really only have like a 1 out of 10 chance of happening. Yeah. But are they also super fun and speculative to talk about? When you're, having a beer with your buddies or you're around wherever you are you talking about the art of hitting a curveball from the left-hand side of the plate? Or are you talking about what do you want to see your team trade for at the deadline? And I'm not saying that the former doesn't exist with conversations, but this is one of the most exciting times of the baseball year. It generates some of the most interest just from your own interactions with me on the YouTube channel, on the podcast, on Twitter. I'm well aware that this generates some of the most watched and listened to episodes. So yeah, I'm curious. I always like to talk about trade deadline stuff, and 3 days from now, we're going to continue to talk a lot about it. So appreciate that. Hit the like button, subscribe button. We're not done here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Plenty of stuff to still talk about here. We did an episode with Doogie actually today that you can also go check out. Some of that stuff's still relevant. I think Dukes would even be surprised that Paddack was traded. But some of that stuff is still in your feed, so go check it out. We're going to talk to Coach Trev tomorrow. In fact, I even just saw a comment on this from our YouTube side of it. Doug says, another slapdick prospect from our friend Trev. Yeah, I'm sure Trev is not too excited that they're just taking on another prospect. Most players don't care about prospects. They care about helping the team when they're at the major league level that can help push them forward. So they would rather, get rid of those prospects. But Trev will get his thoughts on this also tomorrow on the SKOR North Twins Show. So Trevor Plouffe does a great job calling games. Dartspan, D-Span, former Twin of teammates of Trev's. He's calling the color commentary with Corey also for this homestand. You can check that out. But yeah, I think that's the most of some of the other stuff. Here's some grades actually. This is from The Athletic. You have Dan Hayes, you have Ken Rosenthal. Some of the team reporters, they gave some of their thoughts kind of grade-wise on the trade. This one from Stephen Nesbitt, who gave the Twins a B+ for this trade, gave the Tigers a B. Sam Blum gave the Twins an A- for this trade. He says, I like the steal for Minnesota, Sam does, with Jimenez viewed as a potential starting big league catcher. Those type of players can be hard to find, and while he's just 19 years old, the Twins are clearly in a position to be prioritizing their long-term future over the present, and they also gave up Dobnak deal, who seems like more of a throw-in to help land a better prospect. It'll be interesting to see if and how Detroit uses Dobnak, who has minimal but effective time in the big leagues this season. He only graded the Tigers a C+ for this, and Paddack checked in at number 50 on the Athletics trade big board. So again, not someone that we certainly thought would be one of the guys traded, but yeah, here's a comment here from YouTube side. Drop some comments too if you guys have questions. Obviously, this is big news. Got over 250 people watching right now. So if you have comments either about this trade or other trades, drop them in. I'll try to read some of them. Also, I'll try to get to some maybe in future episodes. He says, Dex, odds that they deal one of these outfielders. I know you guys have mentioned the logjam here, but any word on trades? Mike, I'm guessing you're like obviously Bader's been the one out there, but like Larnach and Wallner, I don't know. I think the only way one of those guys gets traded is if he's packaged with like a Jax or a Duran and you get even a sweeter return to help facilitate that deal. I think that might be more of a winter thing. They can't blow up this whole roster. And look, I know they're 12th in the American League. I think the Twins have the worst record too since June 1st. They have not looked the part of being a contending team. And they're not as bad as the White Sox or Rockies or some of the worst teams or like the Athletics, but they're stuck in that horrible purgatory spot, right? Which is sometimes even worse. I would argue in baseball, it's not as worse because if you're a White Sox or Rockies fan, good luck to you. But they do have some interesting pieces here where if they make the right trades, and I know the ownership stuff is kind of clouding over some things, that they certainly can still be competitive in 2026. I don't think that's far-fetched. I don't think that's a homer take. If they get the right pieces in place, some of their hitting prospects are really interesting too. That's where you would, I think, trade someone like Larnach or Wallner if you felt really good about how close Walker Jenkins could maybe help you. Emmanuel Rodriguez is just never healthy, but again, how much more does he have to prove in AAA? Kalen Culpepper's been awesome. So yeah, I think those decisions of trading one of those outfielders, to answer your question, is probably more of a winter question than something else. As I take a little Arnie Palmer sip here, Mateo says, Dex, what do you think the Twins could get for guys like Jax, Ryan, Duran, based on what the Tigers gave up for mid-player and Chris? I mean, that's the thing. When it was first reported that it's top 100 prospects, multiple of them being the asking price for Jackson Duran, that's clear. I mean, that those you're asking for top 5 or 6 prospects. Just shooting blanks here, and without really checking anything on this, if you were to trade just one of them, you're getting for sure a top 10 prospect and probably even another one in the top 12 of an organization. But you also have to factor in here, like, do they not take the prospect and high ticket lottery guys and do get major league players back? Now that might not be as sexy, but it goes again into the mystery box versus the boat analogy I love to use here on SKOR North. That would you rather take something that might have some leaks, maybe got some engine problems, but if it gets tuned up the right way, it's a sweet boat? Or would you rather just open up that mystery box and see where it takes you in a couple years? But I think to go back to your question, like Jackson Duran, yeah, top 100 prospects, multiple top 10 organizational prospects. Not all prospect rankings are created equal, but yeah, I think that'd be kind of where I would lean on that. Daniel says, does the fact this deal is done now and not close to deadline indicate a limited market for Paddack? I don't know if it's limited market, man. Like, if you were to walk him up at the deadline, Dan, I guess to answer your question, and you were waiting, man, like, I think you got to take the offer you have now. Especially too, maybe he has another rocky outing. He was scheduled to pitch, remember, I believe tomorrow in this series. He had a really fine start against the Dodgers. I don't know. If I was a betting person and you told me last week that it'd be the 14th prospect, take your leave and walk up to the deadline to see if it's building more, I don't think I would have gotten more. So I certainly would have probably taken this up. Brian says, how much does Duran's value go up since Class A is suspended for gambling? Dude, this is a great question, Brian. Probably does go up even more. You know, he did pitch, Duran did yesterday in a blowout kind of meaningless game, and in a situation where he had pitched 2 days ago. So it wasn't like he necessarily needed the work. But that's probably because they were showcasing him, right? So yeah, I think that price went up, man. I think it did go up. Now I'm probably more likely to trade Jax than Duran, but I wouldn't be surprised if either goes. There's been some trade proposals where both of them go and propose deals from writers and other people. We'll see where that obviously kind of lends itself to, but yeah, very curious to see how that one is. This rumor also coming in here from ESPN. This is, I believe, from Jorge Castillo, who says Bader could be a hot commodity. The Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees are two teams he's already played for, have shown interest in Harrison Bader, sources told ESPN. Bader is a plus defender. He's having a great offensive year. His 2 Fangraphs WAR ranks 30th in the majors among outfielders this season, and he would be effectively a rental because he signed the 1-year deal, and there's a mutual option for 26, and he is likely to opt for free agency to secure a better contract. So that's kind of the thing there. Bader has played for both New York clubs, the Yankees in 22 and 23, played for the Mets last year. Yeah, I mean, and he's from, I believe he's from New York too, correct? Harrison Bader is. So, those two teams could obviously bring him back. He's got playoff swagger too, and might be the next guy that goes. I wouldn't be too surprised if that happens. Don even says, I could see Bader and Jax going to the Dodgers. The Dodgers have also expressed interest in Bader. They also, LA needs plenty of bullpen help. So that's also a big thing. I could also see that happen. Peter here on YouTube says this trade shows they are willing to trade in division. More offers on the table by the deadline. Yeah, but also, like, you're not going to trade with Cleveland or Kansas City because they're like kind of in the same position you are. Detroit's coming at a position of desperation because they needed some starting pitching help. Like, unless they want to do another trade, which I guess, Peter, that's not completely out of the question. I'd be shocked if they made another trade in the division that's with Cleveland, Kansas City, or even like Chicago. And clearly Falvey does post a hard bargain with trading in the division. He probably should. So Co Skull says, any chance we sell France and let Sabato get a shot to see some Major League pitching this year? Yeah, I would like to see Aaron Sabato get a shot with the Saints this season. I don't know how likely it is you get something for Ty France. He's been pretty ineffective lately. That being said, Chris Paddack just went here for a 14th prospect, so I guess I shouldn't say it's impossible. But Sabato in 27 games with the Saints, an 823 OPS. He has 5 home runs. I know he's 26 years old. The 27th overall pick in the 2020 MLB draft. I would like to see him get a chance, just at this point, especially if it's going to be a lost year. But we'll certainly see. CJF says, can we get our back catcher for a case of beer? I'll see what Vasquez gets, but who comes up in the rotation is what CJ was asking. And Andrew Morris. I think Andrew Morris still banged up and injured. So tomorrow, I believe, is going to be a bullpen day from what we're gathering. And then Bailey Ober, who made his most recent start on Friday for the Saints, I would assume makes that start on Wednesday, because I think it's TBA for both Tuesday and Wednesday here against the Red Sox, who are in town. So bullpen game again tomorrow. Bailey Ober for Wednesday. The Twins will be in Cleveland for deadline day. Now they're off that day. They'll leave here from Minneapolis with their full team, with guys that certainly could be traded and be sent all over airports. Their team travel director, Mike Herman, gets to figure all that fun stuff out. But they will leave here, head to Cleveland, and we'll see what the roster looks like by the deadline time. And then when they do return to play against the Guardians on Friday in Cleveland. So that could be something that is going to be very interesting to figure out. They can't just not take someone with them. Obviously, that would be a pretty big telltale sign. So makes logistics pretty tough, but I could see that. Carson here says Austin Martin has been killing it in St. Paul. He has been killing it in St. Paul. Yeah, I would like to see him get a shot up here. Luke Keeschall isn't back up yet. He's still taking his rehab stuff down there with the Saints. If they are to trade one of those infielders like Willie Castro, I wonder if he gets called up. If they traded Bader, does Austin Martin get another shot here? Brooks Lee's been struggling. Do they believe he needs a reset maybe in St. Paul? Yeah, that's also very interesting to kind of watch and figure out here. Dude, over 330 people hanging out watching the SKOR North Twins Show. So thank you to everyone. If you haven't hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show, I cover the team. My name's Declan Goff in a podcast form. Get information from the clubhouse and from players and anyone else. So if you like this type of stuff, appreciate you guys for supporting the SKOR North Twins Show. Trevor Plouffe joining us tomorrow. It should be very exciting to get his thoughts on this. Here's a good one, actually. Cole Skull says, someone asked this question already, but who do you see as a front runner for the closer spot if Duran and Jax both get traded? Yeah, good question, man. Varland could step into that role. I think Brock Stewart steps in that role. From what I do know, closing, even though it's become different, like some of your best relievers are pitching, in the 8th and in high leverage situations, but closing a game is still a different breed and gene, and it's very difficult to do. So it's not just can they plug and play it for this year? Yes, they obviously could. But it does take a special person to close out baseball games. So yeah, could be Stewart, could be Louis Varland. But I guess we'll see. Curtis says, Bader hot commodity. Ha ha ha. Please stop. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Curtis, thank you very much. But I mean, if he's a hot commodity for other teams and he's having the best offensive season he's had in a long time, he's got playoff pedigree. Yeah, man. I mean, and especially if other position players aren't going to be available, he could. He certainly could be someone that is traded. Robbie B says, are the Red Sox in talks as buyers being in town? Yeah, they're in such a weird position. they entered the break as probably the hottest team in baseball. They've, won just 5 of their last 10 games. They are currently 6.5 back in a loaded AL East, but they are a half game up in the wild card race. So knowing Boston, I think they'll be buyers, but you never really know. I'd be, I guess, shocked if they sold. It's probably what I would for that to come down to. But yeah, we'll see what the Boston Red Sox end up doing. I think that'll probably do it for me here, though, here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Thanks, guys, for hanging out, listening, watching. Again, the Twins trade Chris Paddack and Randy Dobnak to the Detroit Tigers. They get Enrique Jimenez back. I think it's Jimenez. Is it Jimenez? If I'm mispronouncing that. I typically do mispronounce some names here and there. Let me know if I have that wrong. But 19-year-old catching prospect going back to the Twins, the 14th best prospect in the Tigers system. And we'll see what other trades happen, man. It's going to be very interesting to see what else the Twins end up doing by Thursday's deadline. But we'll be ready to react to it here on the SKOR North Twins Show. So thanks, guys. Working on getting Trevor Plouffe on for Tuesday like we usually do. So be on the lookout for that. Go check out Doogie's episode. Anything else does happen, too, I'll be ready to react to it. My name's Declan Goff. Thanks, guys. This is the SKOR North Twins Show.